Joe Biden's presidency may very well already be over. So let's get into this. Now, we know there have been a lot of talk about the infrastructure package and what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. So we already know the bipartisan infrastructure deal, I believe it's $1 trillion, has already gotten bipartisan support. The people in the Senate, they support it, which are basically, in my opinion, like the hardliners, because it's split 50-50, and it's really not even split 50-50 because a lot of the Democrats are insanely corporate, and they won't even budge an inch, i.e. Joe Manchin, i.e. Kirsten Sinema, i.e. many others. They try to pretend like it's just those two. It's not just those two. But they're not budging there on the $3.5 trillion infrastructure package. We just had Joe Manchin come out and do an op-ed for the Wall Street Journal. Don't go read it. It's absolutely shit. It's terrible. He's basically just telling you, oh, I can't vote for this $3.5 trillion infrastructure package because it'll overheat the economy and a bunch of other bullshit that he wants to use to justify not voting for the package because his donors and the people that own him and, his entire life's existence, they hold in their hands because they fund his political campaigns and they give him a bunch of money. They don't want him to vote for it, so he's using these insane reasons as why not to. It's par for the course for people like him. We know the story. We know the drill. We don't need to rehash these things. But he's effectively come out and just put his foot down and said, yo, I'm not doing anything. I'm not voting for that. We're going to have to put a pause on this. And what a pause means to him is let's not talk about this anymore and let's move on and keep doing neoliberalism. Well, there you go. So effectively what this is, they need everybody in line for this $3.5 trillion infrastructure package. Now, as we know, the people in the House, Nancy Pelosi included, have essentially said, okay, well, we're not going to vote for the bipartisan bill until we get our bill. And Nancy Pelosi, to her credit, is putting up a fight. She has seemingly whipped the more moderate Dems in the House in line, and they are ready to go. But now it seems that the toughest fight, which is what we expected, is the Senate. And, the Kirsten Sinemas, the Joe Manchins, and the other ones, they don't seem to really want to roll over, especially this guy, Joe Manchin. And all it takes is one. All it really takes is one. And I'm not trying to paint a bleak picture. I'm not trying to paint a grim picture. I'm not trying to tell you that things won't get better. I'm not here to tell you that the Democrats won't be successful in passing the $3.5 trillion infrastructure package. But I don't trust Joe Biden and his administration to whip these guys in line. I don't trust him to get Joe Manchin to fall in line. I don't trust him to get whoever else opposes this to fall in line. And if they don't, his presidency is essentially over. And what I mean by that is everything in this package, in this $3.5 trillion package, is things that the American people desperately need, such as free community college, universal pre-K, the expansion of Medicare to cover hearing and vision and dental and things of that nature. I mean, endless amounts of good things. Well, I wouldn't say endless. It's, in terms of what we want, it's meager adjustments. But the American people desperately need this, is what I'm trying to say. And if he doesn't get this passed, then what else is he going to do? I mean, honestly, we know he's not going to get rid of student loan debt. That he can do himself. He's not freeing the nonviolent drug offenders. He's a drug warrior still. He's not going to legalize marijuana. He could legalize marijuana and ride that all the way to the next election. The same thing with student loan debt. The same thing with other issues that he can do with just the presidency. But it's this inaction. They're just sitting around twiddling their thumbs, doing nothing. And honestly, in many areas, they're making the country worse. They're making living situations for a lot of people worse. We have a looming eviction crisis. The federal unemployments are set to end on Labor Day. I mean, the irony. The irony. So if we don't get this $3.5 trillion infrastructure package, I mean, how are you going to get people to come out and vote for you? You didn't do anything on the gerrymandering issue. So, I mean, even if this does get passed, you're looking at a really tough fight in the midterms and especially in the next election. And it could be a sweep. And if you don't pass it, I mean, all you really have is a prayer's chance, in my honest opinion. And as I stated before, I'm not trying to paint a bleak picture, but This is what happens when you win the White House. You have the House of Representatives, you have the Senate, and you sit around and you do nothing. And you pass good legislation here and there, but it's nothing substantial. And you do nothing for the mass of people. He ended the war in Afghanistan, and that's a good thing. He got shafted by corporate media. They did him really bad. They did him really dirty, but we knew they were going to do that. On the merits, was it good to end the war in Afghanistan? Yes, it was. But you're going to have to do much more than that to convince people to flock to the polls and vote for you. They're going to have to materially improve their lives, and he hasn't done that yet. And with the opposition from Joe Manchin and others in the way of this $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill, things aren't looking too good for the Democrats. I mean, this is their chance to pass legislation that would essentially be life-changing for many people. And if they don't, this is, in my eyes, effectively the end of the Biden presidency.